Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Environment and Sustainability Standing Committee. My name is Tony Mancini, and it's June the 13th at 1:30. I'd like to call this meeting to order, but first of all, I'd like to acknowledge that the Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes, especially here in HRM, that we are all treaty people. First up is really the approval of the minutes of the May 2nd. Can we have someone approve those minutes? Approved by Councillor Stoddart, second by Councillor Dale Gammon. All those in favor? We now have approved minutes. Approval of the order of business, approval of additions and deletions. Madam Clerk, are there any additions or deletions?
No additions or deletions have been received by the clerk's office.
Fantastic, thank you. Colleagues, can we have someone move forward? Councillor Lovelace, seconded by Councillor Stoddart. All those in favor? We now have an official agenda. Thank you very much. Is there any business arising out of the minutes? Seeing none. A call for declaration of conflict of interests? Seeing none. And then we have motions of reconsideration, rescission, consideration of deferred business, and notice of table matters. All or none. And then we're coming to 10.1 correspondence. Madam Clerk, are there any correspondence been received?
No correspondence or petitions have been received by the clerk's office.
All right, thank you. Are there any petitions to be presented by the committee? Seeing no petitions. Then we come to 10.3 presentation. So we do have a presentation today. The folks from Mila Simon Community Solar Project. So folks who would like to come forward. We'll help you with the slide deck. Thank you. So welcome very much. You have 10 minutes for your presentation. The lovely municipal clerk, as nice as she is, she's also watches the clock. So you have 10 minutes. She'll give you a heads up when your time is almost up. And if you would so kindly introduce both of you, and we welcome you to these chambers. Thank you very much.
I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay. So good afternoon, Chair and also all the councilors. My name is Tracy I'm the Chief Development Officer from the Solar Bank, and also have my local partner Joe from the TriMac Engineering, and it's also our privilege. Thank you so much for having us here, making the presentation today. So the reason we are here today is for a community solar project in the West Pacific. We are going to apply for the community solar contract and in the coming months, and we're seeking for the letter of the municipal support for these projects. So, okay. So we want to share with you what the community solar program, the background information, and what kind of a benefit we can bring in to the community, and who's the project owners, developers, and Joe will share with us TriMac and also the site information. And we also want to touch what kind of a community engagement has been done, and our plan, and also the project progress, and hopefully we can get approval for the letter of the support for this municipal support for the projects. So the Nova Scotia have identified that there's two issues for the electricity generation here. One is being very the high rate, on average 18 cents per kilowatt hour, and the other is about the almost half of the electricity generation is still coming from the fossil fuels. So the government already make up the plan that they want to phasing out the coal plants and as well as the natural gas generation. So they set up a very ambitious goal. By 2030, they want 80% of the electricity generation coming from those renewables. So I do see, the progress making there. They have a rate-based procurements in 2022 and the green choice programs as well. So both of them is more for wind projects. And today, the projects we want to participate is called the Community Solar Program. The procurement target is 100 megawatts. The program has just been announced on the March 1st of this year. So this is aiming for those residents and also business. They are very interested to using the green energy, but however, they may have a limitation to install the solar panels on the rooftop on their backyards. So, and the size is between 500 kilowatt AC to the 10 megawatts, and it's connecting to the local distribution system. Total procurement target is 100 megawatts, and if we got a contract granted, it's going to be 25 years of contract. So how does that work out? It's the project owners will provide 100% of the financing and develop, install the solar projects on the ground mount. And that solar project will connect into the Nova Scotia Power's grid. And although those, the local residents business, they can become the subscriber, like virtually using the solar electricity coming those solar farm. And they are still connecting to the Nova Scotia's the grid. So that way the reliability is not being impacted. However, as a subscriber, there will be benefit financially. So for each of the kilowatt hour of the solar electricity they subscribe, they will get 2 cents off on their monthly bill. So roughly that is about 10 to 15% off on their monthly bill, depends on their usage. And the other thing is that they can claim that they're using the net zero of the electricity. So to the municipalities, local communities also, will bring in the almost 20 million of the investment to the community. And for the construction time, we'll hire from the local as much as possible. And all the studies engineers will get in from the local as well. That will stimulate the economic growth. On the other hand, the local grid of the reliability will be enhanced because those solar projects is close by to the city and connecting to the distribution system. So the reliability of those peak time, because solar is mainly producing at the daytime, right? So the peak time reliability of the electricity supply will be improved. So the owner is an AI Renewable. It's a flow-through fund. It's a Canadian limited partnership, and the proponent will be a number company. We call that special purpose vehicle. It's really for the easier management purpose. And currently, they're also actively discussing with the marginalized community, offering 52% of the ownership to them. If we finally enter the partnership, I think this project will going to bring more of the local benefit to the marginalized community as well. So Solar Bank, our role is the developer, and also we have already engaged the local partner, TriMet Engineering, become the co-developer for those projects. So as I mentioned, the owner is a AI Renewable 2023 flow-through Canadian limited partnership, and their investment goal is only about the Canadian renewable and also clean infrastructures. They also want to be part of this climate change management team, managing the climate change, to pushing for those energy transactions here. So Solar Bank, our role is a developer, and we are a Canadian solar developer. We established in 2013, 11 years ago, and we work on the substantial amount of the solar development projects in Ontario. We built over 100 projects for rooftop and also ground mount, and those are the ISO contracts, so we're kind of well aware, how to developing the government contracts, work with the local municipalities, First Nation partners, community as well. And about 8 years ago, we also extend to the US for the community solar program over there. We do learn lessons, from there. We're so happy that we can apply all the learnings for the community solar program in Nova Scotia. So this is kind of a vertical development process I want to share with you, because we're not kind of just handling part of that. We handle it from very beginning origination, like now, and also after we got the contract granted, we'll handle all the permitting, interconnection with the utility, and also the financing, the engineering designs, procurement, construction, even reach the commercial operation. After that, we'll also become the operation maintenance provider and also asset manager for those projects. So we kind of are well aware this is a long-term relationship with the municipality and also with the local communities, just act, a good community member here. Of course, we hire for the local to work on the operation maintenance, also engineering and the construction work. So I will pass to Joel about TriMap.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joel McNeil. I'm one of the principals of TriMac Engineering, and we're a company, an engineering firm based here in Nova Scotia with offices in Sydney and Halifax. We're celebrating 10 years in operation next year, which we're quite proud of. And in those 10 years, we've grown from the original 3 here. This is my brother and father in the slides, to 10, actually 11 employees now. We have a new guy starting next Monday. So we've been working closely with SolarBank for 4 years on various solar development activities, and so the latest round of that has been for these community solar projects, which we're quite excited about. So we do a variety of things as a company, but one of the things we bring is a 30-plus year working relationship with Nova Scotia Power, who is, of course, a major stakeholder in this project. So we're also assisting in the early stage preliminary designs associated with these projects and looking at the regulatory environment. This is the first community solar program done by a province in Canada. So there are not many solar farms this size in the province as of yet. So we want to make sure we have a clear understanding of what the regulatory environment is and permitting and the like. So that's a bit about TriMac. Thank you. Okay, so I guess I'll try to quickly go through some of the next slides. So the project we're here to talk to you about is the West Pepeswick Solar on the Eastern Shore. And so this is the pin is sort of in the middle of the site. You'll see the preliminary site plan on the next slide. It's located in the 300s, civic number 300s on West Pepeswick Road. And this project is being planned up to 7 megawatts, and we say up to 7 megawatts because it is subject to the various interconnection studies which are underway with Nova Scotia Power. So at 7 megawatts, the developed area you can see on the screen here with the panels is about 35 acres. And this project is enough clean solar energy to power about 900 average Nova Scotian homes. Excuse me. The project is located about 600 meters back in the woods. I have 30 seconds. Okay. So a project like this takes about 5 months to construct. It'd be about 3 to 4 weeks of deliveries of materials and equipment to site, followed by about 5 months of construction with a crew of about 50. So that's just approximate. That'll be subject to actual construction crew size, hopefully when this goes forward. So I think I'm probably over 30 seconds.
Okay. Oh,
Time.
that's okay. So yeah, so this is the development map we're showing us here. So currently it's still in the early stage of the proposal preparation, and a lot of the support from the municipal is marked by the minister in order to submit for this proposal. We really hope to get approval from you for this letter of the support. So this is, we also well engaged with the communities, First Nation partners, and also the marginalized communities about these projects. And also we set up a goal that for the subscribers, the marginalized communities, and also the local residents hosting these solar projects, the senior housing, those will be in our priority list. Thank you so much. We can open the floor for the Q&A.
Thank you very much for that presentation. So very interesting. And we'll see if we've got some colleagues that might be interested in any questions. Councillor Hensby, you have some questions? You have the floor, sir.
Thank you much, Mr. Chairman. Since this proposed farm is in District 2, I'd like to ask some clarification of questions in regards to, as a part of the application, Nova Scotia Power, do they require a letter from the municipality in regards to support or acknowledgement, or would the land use zoning clarification and confirmation letter, would that do? I'm just kind of curious of what Nova Scotia Power is hoping to receive from municipalities as a part of your application.
Nova Scotia Power doesn't require anything of the like. All they require from us is, in order to start the interconnections process, is a deposit and just general project information. That's sufficient to get the ball rolling. So the next stage we're looking to get into is their detailed system impact studies. For that, they do need an indication that this project has been approved by the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables. So that's the step that we're at. Municipal support is for the application to the province.
Okay, so zoning confirmation letter would just confirm that this type of activity is permitted on that property?
That would probably help in support of our application to the province, but not necessary for Nova Scotia Power.
So the letter of the municipal support is required by the Minister of the Natural Resource and the Renewable for this program. When the time we submit the proposal, we must include a letter of the support. And I want to mention this letter of support is only like your attitude, you're positive about this project, agree we can continue to develop these projects. Do not exempt us for any of the permitting for this solar project development, because after contract granted, we'll enter the PPA, we call the power purchase agreement with Nova Scotia Power, and then we'll also go back for the city to further clarify what kind of detail of the permitting is required, the zoning amendments, all those stuff will be happen over there. And also we'll check with the AHJs, because it's a solar generation plant, it's highly regulated. So we'll check all the detail requirements, and after contract granted, we're coming back for the permitting process.
Now, with the other projects you have elsewhere in the province, have you got similar letters from the municipality? I'm just kind of curious of what they were like.
Yeah, so we have another 3 projects. So 2 of them is in the CBRN, Cape Breton Regional Municipality, and we got a lot of support for all these 2 projects. Another one is in the Annapolis Valley, so we also got a lot of support already from the council in the Annapolis.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps a question for you, Mr. Chairman, to our solicitor or to our executive director. If a letter is required from the municipality, how is such a request made? Through this committee through the regional council, or how? Just like to clarify.
Yeah, I think it's a good question, Councillor. I mean, is it best that it comes from regional council? So if it's a recommendation from municipality, I would think that, but.
Regional council, yes.
Yeah, so we're getting 2 nods here. So maybe we'll have some discussion, and Councillor, if you wanted to bring that motion.
Well, I'm not on the committee, so.
Oh, you're on the committee. We'll get somebody to do that in your area based on your comments, so if that's the appropriate. Thank you. Councillor Cottle, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not on the committee either. And I missed...
You're still welcome here, though, even though you're not on the committee.
Oh, thank you there. Anyway, really interesting project. I'm just wondering what the business model is here for this project. Is this a private sector project? I know you're called Community Solar Project. Is there a community aspect in the funding relationship? Just what is the business model?
Yeah, a great question. I think it's a provincial program, the Community Solar Program. The minister want to implement in the Nova Scotia to letting the residents and also business who are interested to use the solar electricity, but they unable to install by themselves, but they do allow the proponents, like a private sector, to participate, become the project owner for this program. So we have to submit the proposal to the minister for their review and put all the information there, like what is our plan for doing this project, subscriber plan, financial risk, all those, everything. And also we have to be show them well engaged with the local community, marginalized communities, in order for them to agree, this is a proper project they want to go through. So the owner is a private limited partnership, a Canadian LP, but it's a provincial program we have to apply. Once they agree that we can enter a power purchase agreement with the Nova Scotia Power, so their role is more like an administrator of this program execution. But the program is a provincial program and designed and also by the Minister of the Natural Resource and the Renewable.
Okay, and then they sell the green energy through like the green energy program or something?
Yeah, so we feed into the grid the solar electricity, but the user is the local community members, and could be residents, could be business, and as long as they're connecting to the Nova Scotia Power, they can become the subscriber to this solar electricity, and they do have a benefit. Financially, they have a credit off 2 cents per kilowatt hour of the monthly bill, and also they're using the net zero electricity.
So they're the community members who are buying into the green energy and the solar project get a credit
Yeah, on their Nova Scotia Power bill.
on their
Yeah,
Nova
they
Scotia
get
Power.
a virtual subscription and credit.
Okay, great. I think that's, okay, so that's interesting. I'm not familiar with all the workings of this program, but it is certainly something I have had interest in, because right now we have Solar City, which is putting solar on private homes, and your ability to tap into that program is very dependent on the style of your house, the style of your roof, the orientation of your home. So it's really kind of limited to a few people, and in particular only limited to homeowners, where a program like this would be to all energy users to take advantage of green and also get a credit. So I really find this interesting, glad that it's coming forward. I'm certainly, again, I don't know all the details, and I'll look into it more, but from what I've heard today, I'm very supportive of it, and think this is the direction we need to be moving toward to enable everybody to participate in the green energy sector. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lovelace, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for your presentation today. I do have a Green Choice program that's developing, but not on solar. It's developing with wind. And so it's nice to see these projects moving forward. And as Councillor Cuddle just said, it's great to have flexibility for communities to actually engage in this project. So my questions to you, a couple of things. One is, when we look at the land use, you're talking 35 acres overall for the panels. That's an awful lot of acreage, 35 acres for 900 homes. So I'm just wondering about the viability actually to move up. Can we look at some of those other options, or have you seen benefit from using the solar towers rather than just the flat along the land? So just wondering, as a developer, you've been in this for a long time, so we do know that we want to use land efficiently. And so I'm curious about why you wouldn't be using towers. And maybe it's because of hurricanes. I don't know, just throwing that out there. My other question is around the community benefit. So while they do have I think it was a 2% or maybe overall a 10 or a 15% discount on their energy bill, we do know that energy costs are rapidly rising. So that 10% may actually end up only being 2% over time, right? Because it's very difficult to guarantee the cost of energy in 10, 15 years. And so I'm just wondering, from a community benefit program, this is something that we're discussing in my district with regards to the wind farm, is finding a way that the community overall sees some kind of social benefits in the community. through a community benefit agreement or community benefit program. And also just wondering how the community themselves are engaging in this. Do you have an advisory committee? And I'm sorry if I missed that, but I generally feel like having a community advisory committee, people who are on the ground, working with you to advise you to, provide a liaison to the broader community, as well thinking about the growth of housing in this area. So we may be looking at 900 homes. Maybe we're going to look at 1,500 units in the future. So just wondering from a community benefit how you foresee that moving forward. And again, thank you so much. This is great. We need more of this in this province. So appreciate you going through this incredibly complex process to get that Green Choice Award. Thank you.
So much. Yeah, I think all great questions. So the first question is about the solar tower versus the solar on the racking system. On the so relatively to the Nova Scotia here, I think so like a larger size like this solar farm is still new. I think we do have some testing projects around the 3 or 4 in the province, maybe like 2 megawatts. And I think popular for the solar rooftop here. So to the community, we also have to well engage them and make sure they acceptance about this idea as well. So it's very important to them. We have a good visual screenings and not visible when time they drive on the highways.
Right.
And also, there's a residence close by, and they don't want to. They think it's a great idea, but they don't want to see the solar sticking out of the trees.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think for now we're just proposing the solar on the regular on the racking, and not even for the tracker, because tracker will have a noise. We be very careful, think about, bury in the woods and in the visible from the residence house, and also keep a very good distance to the residential house as well. So I think the community is acceptable for this idea. Yeah, I think in the future, great idea, how can we leverage, how can we, with the same piece of land, right? Definitely, I think when the community is well educated, more aware, and also acceptive to the renewables, I think that's certainly something we can, consider in the future, but it's a great idea. And secondly, is about the credit, 2 cents per kilowatt hour. I think it's a great comment. It's exactly. I think for now it's a good saving, right? 10 to 15% off. But it's in the minister the design that they mentioned is a 2 cents per kilowatt hour. I think we'll bring these comments back for them because there's inflation over the 25 years. Yeah, the 2 cents now versus 20 years, it's certainly different. Yeah, so we'll bring the comments back. I think that's great. It's how can we actually further help the community reduce their energy costs. And lastly, it's about community engagement, right? The question. So, and also the community benefits. So in our subscriber plan, we'll treat those marginalized community as our priority, plus the local residents, because they're hosting these solar farms over there. So in our subscriber plan, those will be our priority, and low-income housing organizations, and also ACOMA, those communities, and also Acadian. We already have an online meeting with them. If we got a contract, I think we'll subscribe them as a priority, and also the First Nation communities as well. So in addition, we're also thinking about hire from the local as much as possible. Actually, right after this meeting, we are going to talk to a local construction company. They do have an experience about a 200 kilowatt kind of a rooftop, but they certainly don't have a 7 megawatts experience, right? So it's also our expertise can bring in to the local community, like train the local trade up. So that way, gradually, I think Nova Scotia will building up their own solar development capability, right, in this province. So that way, I think will be more prevailing, like for people switch the energy from the fossil fuels to the renewables. And also, it's in our plan that we offered, it's our investor, like offering 52% of the ownership for a marginalized community. We haven't got agreement signing up in the final stage, so that's why I will not be able to release that. But it's also in our interest, like how can we provide additional, like bring more values to the community. So that's also it's happening in the current the status for the projects. And also we do think about the community will setting up some like a bursary, for the community. So in the future, we can sponsor some of the schools or the college for the bursary, encouraging about and like seminars, right? Some bursary for the people taking the course, maybe win some renewable contacts, further enhance about the renewable capacity in the Nova Scotia. And we'll offer some students intern as well for these projects.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you so
Great
much.
comments, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, we're going to hear from the Deputy Mayor, Diego Gavin. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. You speak very fast. My brain is trying to catch up. Three McNeils, and my mother was a McNeil from Cape Breton, so I'll ask you about that later.
So is that a conflict of interest, Mr. Solicitor?
So thinking or following on Councillor Lovelace's comments, it's the landmass that I was thinking about. So 35 acres, is this land that is already purchased, that you already own? And the distance, so this solar farm, are the two in Cape Breton and the other one in Annapolis of a similar size, 35 acres? And what is the proximity from the residential? Do you have a standard that this is the distance? And the other thing would be, have there been any concerns raised by communities thus far about having a solar farm next to you? When we think about, you're taking clear cutting, 35 acres, and so all of those trees are gone. So has there been concern, and how have you been addressing those? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a great question. This is also the questions we hosting the public meetings, let them know about the site plan. So originally the setup, I think for the residence house is about 200 meters away, like 300 meters away. So that's how we host the two public meetings over there and collecting the feedbacks from the local community. I think most of them are okay, but they really, living close by, which we understand, right? So her concern is really about the distance as much as possible to her house. So we actually moved back to the solar projects. So now it's about 500 meters away from her house. And also, pushing back as close to the highway as possible, because the other side, there's no residents over there. So that's the community feedback. I think after site plans being revised, we actually go back, host another in-person meeting, show the community, here's the revised site plan feedback. So I think it's acceptable to the local community. And also in terms of the clearance, the 35 acres clearance. So currently the lands, based on the knowledge, because there's one gentleman living close by, he kind of know the history about the land. So he said about 20 years ago, so that place has been cleared already. So the trees is more like early to medium age of the tree over there. And we also got the community information. So this lady, she passed us some information. In the future, if we want to do some clearance, we will consult the resource she had, make sure it's a compliance, that make sure, like for instance, consideration about wetlands and also about local the wildlife. So she does have the contact information forward to us. And there's another thing is that we'll hire for the local logging company. So make sure even have a clearance about the 35 acres, even it's early to middle age, right? Make sure the tree is not wasted. So we're not doing any of the mulching stuff. So we'll hire the local logging company and utilize those woods as much as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Hensby.
Thank you much, Mr. Chairman. I'd let you know there is a local community Facebook page, Residents of the West Pepeswick, and there's been a lot of discussion on that. I also want to thank Solar Bank. They had 3 community meetings they held themselves in Muscat Albert Harbor, so they took that upon their own initiative. It was not any municipal-led meetings. It was done by them. Some of the concerns expressed was about the access to the property. The people concerned the West Peswick Road just got repaved by the province last year, and they're worried about all this heavy equipment coming in. So if you saw on their map during the presentation, they have a unique opportunity where their property abuts the 107 highway, and they can have an opportunity through the province to make access off the highway for logging and forestry, harvesting and stuff, as well as possibly bringing the construction materials. So hopefully the province will grant them that access off the highway as a temporary access to do this activity, therefore reducing and eliminating the need for any traffic on West Peswick Road. As well, it should be noted that the three-phase power line on the West Peswick Road will also be upgraded by this company to ensure there's more reliability in the power lines on that particular stretch of the road. So hopefully that can be done as well. The other thing I would like to mention, I'm glad to see they're thinking about possibly having a scholarships for the local high school that's being developed in the new area. But I've also suggested to them that there's the Eastern Shore Development Fund that's done through the foundations of Nova Scotia, because I know the Watt Wind, the wind turbine company in the area, has made contributions to that organization and to that fund in the past to help to return some kind of money back to the community for the local future benefit. But she's right, they are right in regards to 20 years ago. Hurricane Juan did devastate this particular area, and there's a lot of trees that have been cleared at that time because it was also outside the quarantine of the brown spruce beetle at the time. So there were a lot of the trees that were outside that boundary were harvested quite efficiently. So there should be only new growth for less than 20 years left on the property. Thank you.
Councillor, thank you for that confirmation of that history that is useful, I believe, to all of us. Councillor Cuddle, second time around.
Thank you. Yeah, it is interesting to have the history of the land out there. My question is a bit more in general, because one of the things that I see when I drive through Ontario and Quebec is these large solar farms, mostly on agricultural lands. And here, we have very limited agricultural lands. And just wondering, what is your policy or practice of working with agricultural lands? Because it's not something I would think that we'd want to see taken out of production, especially when we're dealing with local food security and similar issues. Though we do have a lot of land that's not suitable for agriculture that would be, well suited for something like a solar farm. So when determining a site, how do you consider agricultural lands?
So that's a great question. So we usually look at the zoning and also the land class to determine whether it's an agricultural land or not. So for all of the all the 4 sites, 3 of them is either zoned as a RU, and this one zoned as a MU, the mixed use. And there's also the other side. If you look at the map, actually the properties are huge. The other side is a residential, the zoning. So we basically avoid the residential over there and only put the solar projects in the MU side. So the land class over there, I believe it's a class 3. So the great question. So if it's an agricultural zoning, the one in the Annapolis Valley, so that is a GD, general development and / agriculture. So for the lands, if they are still eligible to doing the agriculture, so it's actually in our plan, we want to do the agrivoltaic for those projects, like not only having the solar panels over there, I think also to this, the councilor's comments, like how can we better utilize the resource. So we actually, for that land, we are thinking about either we can do the gazing, like growing those grass, so allow the neighbors having their sheep go there gazing in that solar projects. And we could also use, planting some of the local flowers that will be actually helping for those pollinators. So we call it agrivoltaic. So as long as that is suitable for the agrivoltaic, we want to implement the plan in those solar projects.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm wondering if we could put solar panels on top of capped landfills.
I was going to.
Oh, I think Andrew sitting behind you missed that comment.
You go ahead. I was going to prompt you to mention that because it's a good segue.
Yeah, it's a great idea, I think. So we already doing that in the New York County for the community solar program. We do develop a couple of the landfill, and also with a Honeywell, we have a 3 brownfields, 7 megawatts each under construction now. So it's a great idea that how can we turn those liability lands into an asset, right? Producing the solar projects. Yeah. So in addition to these 4 private land, we actually actively seeking for additional lands. I think, Joe, we just had a meeting, right, with
Yeah, about brownfields in
Right.
Nova Scotia, so we
yeah,
are looking
exactly.
at that as well here.
Right. So that's our plan. Yeah.
That's great. Well, all our solid waste people are sitting right behind you there.
Councillor Cutter, did you have any suggestions of location? No, that's okay, that's fine. I'm sure that it's a great discussion. Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you have no comments from the chair, I'd be prepared to put a motion on the floor.
That would be appreciated, thank you.
Great. So I would move that the Environment and Sustainability Standing Committee recommend that Regional Council provide a letter of support for the community solar project.
Do you have a second, or seconded by Councillor Lovelace? Deputy Mayor?
I think it's a wonderful project. I mean, we're all looking for other ways to consider energy solutions that take us off of fossil fuels, all of those kinds of things. So, and can't say no to a bunch of McNeils. But no, it is a good project, and I think the letter of support is just another step in the process, because then there is the permitting and all of those kinds of things, and the next steps that have to go through. So, to continue them on the journey, I think that this is a good thing to do. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments on the motions, but go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Sorry, Chair, I just wanted to add that it would have to be a staff report that Environment and Sustainability recommend that Halifax Regional Council direct the CAO to provide a staff report on providing a municipal letter of support for the community solar program, or a councillor can independently submit a request for consideration form for the letter of support. So those are the 2 options.
Sorry? I'm just wondering, which avenue is going to be the quickest? And, a staff report to, I'm having a hard time envisioning what a staff report looks like to request a letter. Yeah. I can. Just speaking with the solicitor, I'm wondering if we can move the motion as the clerk suggests to go to regional council, and then have the discussion about waiving it at regional council. I think it may be a faster approach. Councillor Lovelace, do you want to speak to it?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's certainly an option. I guess it comes down to the deadline for the project and the Green Choice Award deadline, which is looming. So if we can just get a sense of timing.
Thank you so much. Great question. So this one doesn't pose any of the deadline, but however, time is at the essence because it's reviewed as a first come, first served basis. If the capacity is running out, basically, even we did a perfect package, we don't have an opportunity. So it's time is at the essence. I think from our side, we have a close to final package and just waiting for confirmation of the partnership with the marginalized community and also for the letter of the support from the municipality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We do have regional council on Tuesday, and I think this is something that we can make sure at agenda review that it's addressed, and if the clerk's office can make sure that that's part of it. Why don't we move forward the motion as recommended by the deputy mayor and the clerk, and that's it. All right, we're all in favor of that? Okay, good. So the deputy mayor, go ahead on this.
Just for clarification, so you're recommending that we go with the staff report?
I'm suggesting we
Okay,
go to
and
the
then
staff
that agenda
report,
review,
have the
see if it can-
discussion, and then even if it stays the same with the staff report, when it comes to regional council, we, on Tuesday, hopefully we can make that agenda, we can have that discussion to try to, I think the goal here is to eliminate the staff report. I don't
Right.
see it being necessary, but let's do that at regional council, if you're okay with that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep, so the motion is for, with the question's been called for. All those in favor of the motion? Anyone opposed? That motion has been carried. The only last thing to investigate is there a conflict of interest of too many McNeils in the room? So we'll give that to the solicitor to investigate. Thank you very much for your presentation. As you can tell by the questions and the interest, there's a lot of interest for this. Even though solar farms are new to Nova Scotia, it's not new to the world. So it's an opportunity to do that here. So thank you very much for your presentation. Truly appreciate it. Okay, next is public participation time. This is where people from the public can step up and ask any questions of the committee. And I'll ask that anyone from the public want to step up. And I'll ask 3 times, anyone from the public wish to speak? And third and last time, anyone from the public wish to speak? So no speakers. The information I was brought forward, there are none. We now come to a staff report. And this is 13.1.1 Solid Waste Strategy Review. And I'm wondering, we do have a presentation, Andrew, I believe. So I wonder if you wouldn't mind coming forward, Dean and Shannon. We do have a presentation, folks, and once the presentation has been presented, we can put the motion on the floor and have discussion. As Andrew's getting settled there, you know, colleagues, I think the work that, a lot of the works for many departments within HRM, not everyone has a really deep understanding of the effort and the energy it takes to do things, right? Our residents see our green bins being picked up, and we deal with landfills and recycling, and all those things are tied into many, many other things. And so I think this report is really interesting. I'm sure all of you read it. So I really look forward to this presentation. And Andrew, you have the floor, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Andrew Flopoulos here, Director of Solid Waste Resources. I brought the team with me today. I'm joined by Shannon Betts, our Manager of Policy and Enforcement, Jeff McCauley, who is our Manager of Engineering and Contracts, and we also have a Bridging the Gap intern here who joined us earlier this week, Hunar Aurora. So the team's here with me today, here to present an update on the Solid Waste Strategy Review. So today's presentation will be a high-level overview of the work completed to date, acknowledging that we've covered quite a bit of subject matter. We're not going to be able to go over every topic here today. We will provide a background on the strategy review and also look at key findings and next steps. I'd like to acknowledge the $306,000 of funding that we've received from the Sustainable Communities Challenge Fund. So back in February 2023, Regional Council approved the terms of reference for the Solid Waste Strategy Review. We presented this schedule at that time. We've completed tasks 1 and 2, phase 1 public consultation, as well as technical studies and key themes. We're here as part of task 3, providing an update. From here, the plan is to go away, complete phase 2 public consultation, phase 2 assessments, and return to ESSC before the end of the fiscal year with the final report and an updated strategy. So as part of the terms of reference, we proposed several new objectives to the Solid Waste Strategy Review. The first was aligning the system with Halifax, making a significant contribution towards our 2030-2050 decarbonization objectives. Additionally, we wanted to contribute towards the provincial waste disposal per capita objective of 300 kilograms by 2030. We identified 9 key themes, including the impact of extended producer responsibility legislation, reducing the carbon footprint in waste disposal, cart-based collection related to transitioning our bag-based recycling and garbage programs, and looking at expanding the household special waste program. We retained Dillon Consulting, who supported us through public consultation, as well as the development of technical studies, all of which is publicly available on our public consultation page on Shape Your City. Getting into key findings, starting with the impact of extended producer responsibility, or EPR, acknowledging that legislation was enacted last year. That program comes into place December 2025. At that time, it is no longer our program. It belongs to producers who will be running it. We become a stakeholder and potentially a service provider on behalf of producers, subject to commercial negotiations, which will take place this fall. Based on a jurisdictional scan that our consultant completed, looking at other jurisdictions with similar programs and how they've been implemented, I think it's fair to say there's a good probability that we'll continue to collect recyclables, provide education, customer service. Obviously, we're going to continue collecting garbage and organics, so that seems logical. With regards to processing recyclables in the long term, it's very unlikely that we will continue to operate a material recovery facility, or as we call it, a MRF. The main reason for that is private sector service providers are better positioned to develop and operate these facilities. That being said, our facility is a useful asset. It's in good condition. It's possible to upgrade the facility with modern processing equipment, and it may garner some interest from producers as they look to implement EPR here. In terms of next steps, nothing specific with respect to the strategy review. That being said, we did submit a report to you back in December 2023 where you approved registering in the program. As part of that staff report, we also laid out a roadmap as to how we would facilitate the transition to EPR, and so we'll continue to follow that direction. Turning over to alignment with Halifax, we looked at several initiatives, including establishing a solar farm to supply some of the electricity demand for our new composting facility located out in Goodwood. You can see an image of the new facility that is currently being hot commissioned as we speak. The solar farm would be sited at the location of the existing composting facility located adjacent to this property. Because we would have to decommission and demolish the existing facility, it will take a couple of years. We could potentially look to implement this project in 26, 27, subject to the routine business and business planning and budget cycle. We also looked at potentially using the biogas generated from Otter Lake to generate renewable electricity. And this year, we'd like to continue exploring that opportunity, working with our Halifax peers and colleagues around the opportunity to potentially produce the renewable electricity, and then potentially the municipality self-consuming it through the renewable to retail program. In terms of getting to 300 kilograms per capita by 2030, so again, this is waste disposal per capita. It includes all residential and commercial waste. Here in HRM, we're currently at 383. The provincial average is 417. We do well within the province. We do well nationally. We're a leader in diverting material from landfill disposal. That being said, we certainly can make improvements. We'd like to look at implementing clear bags for the IC&I sector. We have great success here in the municipality implementing that policy with the residential program, the condominium program, and when we reference here IC&I in the solid waste world, that also includes multi-residential properties with 7 or more units. We'd like to make additional improvements to multi-res as well. We'd like to look at developing a guideline around best practices and design principles for new builds to facilitate more source separation and diversion. We'd like to collaborate with our planning and development colleagues and look at how we can promote its use. We'd also like to step up our efforts around promoting the circular economy. So all of these items here, we'd like to go back as part of our second phase of the strategy review, do additional public consultation in the form of stakeholder consultation, and also look at phase 2 assessments, for example, an implementation plan for clear bags for IC&I, and present that along with the final report. Cart-based collection, this goes back to an information report that we presented to Regional Council in 2020 to transition our bag-based programs to cart-based collection similar to the Green Cart program. We had our consultant do a review of this, also develop cost estimates for various scenarios. Ultimately, we are here today proposing cart-based automated collection for the garbage and the organic streams. So looking at introducing a black cart for garbage and looking at trying to utilize this type of system, as you can see on the image, throughout HRM, consists of a robotic arm that picks up a cart, tips it into the back of the collection vehicle. This type of system has been used in many other jurisdictions for a long time. It's a proven technique. And it offers many advantages, including simply a more modern way to collect waste materials, and offers significant labor improvements. You don't require people to jump off the back of trucks, bend, reach, pick up. Ultimately leads to a better employment, better, higher quality jobs, those type of things, and it also reduces the labor demand, and we certainly have had waste shortages here in the solid waste system. There'd be a $14 million initial capital investment to purchase garbage carts, and additionally there would be a $700,000 annual cost related to providing new garbage carts, replacing, maintaining damaged carts, similar to what we do today with the Green Cart program. I haven't mentioned recycling because producers will be taking over the recycling collection program, so it will really be up to them to decide how recyclables are collected in the future. In terms of next steps, we'd like to go and do phase 2 public consultation, stakeholder consultation, a public survey, focus groups, and we'd like to come back TSSC in the first quarter of 25-26 with an implementation plan. And so the idea is that you're not deciding today to proceed with this change. It's simply that we go away and do some further work and ultimately come back with something in the first quarter, and at that time, that would be the decision point. Last key theme I'll touch on today is around the Household Special Waste Program. We currently operate a depot out in Bears Lake on the same property as our MRF. It operates most Saturdays throughout the year. This is supplemented with 17 mobile events that we offer through the spring to the fall. We'd like to look at expanding this program. And the vision there would be to have a depot on the Halifax side as well as on the Dartmouth side, and ultimately look to reduce some of those mobile events by having more opportunities and access to the program. So with the Halifax depot, we need to relocate the facility, and the simple reason is that we don't have enough space on the property with the MRF to facilitate both the commercial truck traffic for the MRF as well as the residential traffic for the HSW depot. And that's why it only operates most Saturdays, because the MRF typically doesn't operate on a Saturday. Right, so it turns out that there's a property down the street in Horseshoe Lake Drive that is available. So what we'd like to do is do conceptual design this year, and if the findings are positive, start to advance those plans next year and potentially look at relocating the depot in 26-27. Starting with the 2-day operation, which is based on some work that our consultant did. We'd always have the opportunity to further expand. And again, all of this would be subject to the routine business planning budget cycle. On the Dartmouth side, what we'd like to do here this year is to try to identify a suitable site for an HSW depot. We're going to do this part of a public works deliverable as part of the business plan this year to look at long-term facility needs. So with that, I will leave it there for questions.
Andrew, thanks very much. Councillor Hensby jumped in. I wonder what he's going to talk about. Let me guess. No, okay, I will not steal his thunder. I'll allow him. I know that his ears were percolating. I'm sure that's a possibility. Councillor Hensby, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, first of all, I'd like to know when the public consultation is actually going to be. Is it going to be September, October, November, with the deadline to come and try and get a response back to council, the new council, by December? So I'd just like to have better timelines when that may be, so there might be information for our newsletters for August, September, October, whatever the case may be. I'm pretty sure you're going to hear it loud and clear, the use of other bins and the collection bins. I'm sure we have enough AI technology out there for anybody who buys a brown bin or black bin from the commercial stores. I know they're all different dimensions or close to the same size, but I think that we need to find a way that we could work with those other bins in regards to how they could be utilized instead of having just our green bin only collection at the present time. I'm hoping that we can probably have a collaboration with our various Enviro depots that are across HRM. They can possibly assist us with some of the household hazardous waste collection. We provide the insurance and the collection time, that as long as they provide, if we can provide them a safe receptacle for them to put the things in, or know how to properly source, separate the items, that we could work with them, I would hope, instead of us having the amount of depots we currently have. I greatly appreciate the mobile depots we do have. The 3 in the Eastern Shore have been highly effective and utilized greatly. My only concern in the report was the rural C&D issue, about not having the possibility of a C&D collection opportunity. I think it's unfathomable to think that we have to ask our folks from the far reaches of the Eastern Shore, Muscatine Valley, to bring in their C&D materials to a site in either, perhaps Atrium could take it there, and Roche Road and Westfall. It's just, I think it's ludicrous to think that it's going to end up in the woods is where it's going to end up. We're going to have bigger problems of illegal dumping. I suggested in the past that, why not collaborate with the hardware stores to sell the building materials, that we could have bins at those locations, and people can come and just bring their roofing shingles or their scrap lumber or the case be, and just deposit it there. Like, if they're buying the building materials, they want to bring it back to the building materials site. Perhaps this could be a part of the extended producer's responsibility, collaboration with the municipality. I've also suggested perhaps that the Dexter's group, with the Greet group, when they bought the company down there in Sheet Harbor, they got a beautiful site where they can have their own C&D site similar to what they have at Roche Road. I really think that there's an opportunity there. I really think we should encourage that to occur. I don't know if there's a municipal incentive to do that, that help them along, but I think we really need a better strategy for C&D collection or depository instead of the woods in the rural parts of Halifax. Thank you.
So, Councillor, no mention of the housing special waste location in Dartmouth? You didn't ask? Yeah,
Well, that's where
I
I
didn't want to
thought-
encourage you, that's okay.
That's why I thought Enviro depots could assist us with that process. Instead of having our own facility, perhaps we could collaborate with the Enviro depots.
Thank you. Andrew, back to you, sir.
Thank you through the chair to the councillor. Thank you for the questions, Councillor Hensby. In terms of public consultation, the first phase of this is going to be mostly targeted stakeholder consultation, depending on the topic. When we get to actual like a public survey around cart-based collection, that will be later in the fall, closer to like November, December. So ultimately, that will all be, an update will be provided to Regional Council on that when we come back with the final report. And when we do go to the public with the public survey, certainly we can reach out through the Councillor Coordinator's office with information. In terms of the bins, I definitely take your point there in terms of, what do you do with existing bins out there? It is, I will be upfront and say to you, Councillor Hensby, that you're not going to be able to facilitate this type of program by using a lot of different types of bins. I think what we need to do is potentially look at how we may be able to take some of those bins back, right? And how we may facilitate a recycling program around them. In terms of the Enviro depots already do collect, for example, paint. They accept electronics. They accept different things. They're not set up to be able to do what we do at the HSW depot. There's a variety of different materials that require specialized PPP, secondary containment. So we do collaborate with the Enviro depots because they do a great job providing a service to the public, but ultimately I think that we are the ones that are going to need to collect HSW materials. And then certainly I take all your points with C&D. I would just mention that we're not seeing evidence of illegal dumping around C&D in that part of the municipality. Certainly, if we could work with you to encourage people calling it in. I don't know what the disconnect there is, but we have had a lot of success with our recent changes to C&D, and we have raised a lot of awareness. And happy to work with you to, again, we can go back to municipal there and Halifax C&D and see if there isn't another opportunity for them to potentially collect more materials, closer to the Sheet Harbor area.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Councillor Cuddle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, is there a motion that needs to be put on the floor here? Maybe somebody from the,
You're probably right, Councillor. If you could put that motion on the floor, that would be
well,
great.
I'm not part of the committee, but
Oh, you're
maybe.
not. We'll get somebody to do that. You carry on with your questioning, and
Okay.
we're okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and the update, and always good to hear what's going on in our solid waste department. I've got a few questions and comments. First, just to kind of bounce off where Councillor Hensby was, I'm very happy to hear that there'll be a new household special waste depot and that you're looking at doing 2 days instead of one. One of the biggest sources of complaints I get from residents is that the lineups on Saturdays, it takes sometimes hours, and they just leave and they don't use it. And either goes back into their garage or their basement, or in some cases, ends up in the ditch. So that's good that it'll be 2 days, but our population's growing. Everything's increasing here, so that only makes sense. On the same note, I do know that the special pickups have been very popular with residents in giving them the impetus to get out and dispose of their household waste properly. And we are such a large regional municipality that I do have concerns about the distance people will travel to use it. I know it's been a convenience for them to have these special pickups, and it's very, very much appreciated by the residents. So I'm just thinking, like, from a service perspective, I still see a lot of value in that, and perhaps there's a way to continue the program, even if it's on a less frequency, but there's a lot of value from our residents in that. Other questions? Oh, glad to see that we're getting solar on the old composting facility. You're a step ahead of me, as usual. So that was positive to hear about. And I'm just wondering around I wrote notes here. Oh yeah, the timelines. You talked about clear bags for ICI and for multi-residential units, putting in some guidelines and principles for new builds and source separation. Do you have any timeline on that, on when we might see changes coming? Because I know, we're in the midst of this big development boom, and I feel like now's the opportunity, if we're going to do this, now's the opportunity to have these pieces in place. So I'm just wondering if you can comment on that. And I was just fortunate, I was in Calgary at FCM, and they had a group there that was talking about circular economy. I'm just wondering if you can explain a little bit what that means to you, because I know a lot of people don't understand what circular economy is, how it will make a difference in their lives or in the operations of the municipality. And, when we talk about the circular economy, promoting it, what is it that you have in mind specifically there?
Thank you through the chair to the councillor. Thank you for the comments and the questions. I'll jump to clear bags. And I think the timeline there potentially could be as early as 25, 26-ish. That being said, with the multi-residential sector, I do want to reassure you and tell you that we've been doing a pile of work there for the last 5 years. We do tons of inspections. We have our bylaw, which requires source separation. We have an ICNI course that a lot of the property management firms have taken with our staff. So we've been very engaged in that sector, but we know we can do more, right? So looking as early as 25, 26. With regards to the circular economy, I love this topic. I think it's the hard thinking that we need to do to move the needle in terms of waste diversion. I think the best example I could give you as to what it means for me is keeping material out of the waste system. Like how do we do that? Shannon Betts this past year off the side of her desk ran an initiative with the National Zero Waste Council in collaboration with Just Food, with the Halifax Partnership and others here, and we created a circular food hub. And the way that worked was there was some study work around mapping food production and food loss in Nova Scotia, so there was some learning. There were stakeholders, variety of stakeholders, public, private, non-for-profit, et cetera, that got brought together to talk about the food loss and what the opportunities were. And then we facilitated a competition that assisted with the implementation of interventions. And those interventions have been, have been provided a grant. And we're going to find out later this month how they've worked out. So it's facilitating that type of collaboration. How do we keep materials out of the waste system? What do we need to do? How do we nurture that? How do we support that? Additionally, I think it's also about how we can promote more reuse, how we can rescue material destined from landfill to prevent it from being landfilled. We've seen other municipalities, for example, we do a great job with curbside giveaway. I think is awesome. Other municipalities have done things like reuse expos, right? Similar sort of thing, but organized over at a weekend in a central location and in coordination with non-for-profits. So lots of things there we can do, and as part of the next phase of the strategy review, we want to better define how we as staff can facilitate that.
That's interesting. So you're moving from the end to looking more at the beginning for solid waste. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Stoddard. Councillor Stoddard, would you be so kind and put the motion on the floor before you ask your questions? Thank you.
Certainly. Let me find the motion. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
That's okay. Take your time. That's all right.
I have the motion.
Councillor Cottle, do you have yours handy? You can pass it
I
to
don't
her.
have it close.
on my screen. Want to read my screen? You can't see it with the thing on it.
Councillor Cottle, sorry. She can see it? Do you have it, Councillor
I have the
Lovelace?
motion that the Environment and Sustainable Standing Committee recommend that Halifax Regional Council approve the next phase of reviewing and updating municipalities' solid waste strategy in accordance with the task and action items outlined in the next steps section of the staff report dated May 6, 2024. So move.
Second by Councillor Lovelace. Thank you, Councillor, for doing that. You have the floor now, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry that was so awkward. I have a couple of questions. This is my baby, right? With the new auto trucks for the possible garbage bin pickup with the automated system, I noticed with the green bin, there always has to be at least one staff member there to wheel the green bin up so it can do its thing, and then when it's released, wheel the green bin back. So once everything is set, is there a savings in the long run? And I'll just get actually a couple more. I'm just wondering if when Council Hensby asked you about the public consultation, I'm not sure, did you answer that? I might have missed it. And do you know what the cost might be for the possible 2-day environmental depot? Please. And is it possible there might be solar at Otter Lake, or is there now? Thank you, Andrew.
Awesome. Thank you for the questions through the chair to the councillor. So great question on automated collection. So the current Green Cart program uses what we call semi-automated. Right, so that consists of someone jumping off the back of the truck and doing what you described. With the automated system, it will require educating residents to put the cart out. There's got to be a certain clearance, and it's a good point to bring up that we're not going to be able to do automated collection everywhere in the municipality due to canopy or parking, those type of things. But we should be able to do most of the municipality. And so, yeah, so the idea is the robotic arm picks up the bin, tips it, and puts it right back down in its place. It will, interesting your question about cost from a collection contract point of view. We know future collection contracts are going to go up in price compared to what we pay today. But the status quo, if we kept the same program, will actually cost a little bit more than going to this type of system. And the reason for that, while the trucks are a little bit more expensive, you save on the number of trucks that you need, you save on the time it takes to collect, and you save in labor. So it actually is a bit of a wash from a collection contract point of view. There's some marginal potential savings there. With respect to public consultation, we plan on doing targeted stakeholder consultation here late summer, fall, and then as we get later into the fall is where we would plan to do some further work around the cart-based collection program, probably like November, December timeframe with respect to a public survey. The cost of the HSW, so to develop a new depot, based on the work we've completed to date, it's probably in the order of $1 to $1.5 million. They're not very large facilities. It will depend a little bit on the work, conceptual design work that we're about to do at the new proposed location. From an operational point of view, based on the work our consultant did, they projected about a 20% increase in operating costs. So we'll see how that actually plays out in practice. And then lastly, no, we do not have solar at Otter Lake. I'd probably take the opportunity just to mention that we did do a solar study as part of the community solar program. It actually helped inform the community solar program at Highway 101. And that ultimately rests with our Halifax team as they determine which projects and initiatives to push forward.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Mr. Chair, can I squeeze in 2 more, or should I come back? Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Provincial Extended Producer Responsibility Program, do we have an update on that? Are they still looking into it, or is there a chance we might see it come to fruition soon? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank you through the chair to the councillor. So the legislation was enacted last year, and currently the organization representing producers that have stepped forward here in Nova Scotia is an entity called Circular Materials, and they have submitted a draft readiness report, which ultimately is due to Divert Nova Scotia here in the fall. And by the legislation, the new program needs to be up and running in December 2025.
Okay, Councillor?
And, sorry,
Go ahead.
I said 2.
Well, why don't you come back? Councillor, why don't you come back if you don't
Okay,
mind?
not a problem.
Before
Thank you,
Councillor
Mr.
Cullen
Chair.
jumps in, I just wouldn't mind asking some questions. So Andrew, thank you very much. Thank you to you, the entire team. Colleagues, Andrew and his team are well respected across the province for the work that's done here, so I truly appreciate that work. The cart-based collection, of course, will attract a lot of conversation and attention from our residents, rightfully so. For a long time, there's been requests of that expanding the cart-based program, and glad to look at the black bin approach. Of course, there'll be lots asking about the blue bin approach, and as you mentioned, because of extended producer responsibility, that'll be the pro's responsibility. However, is there an opportunity to have those conversations with the pro to try to influence? Because, I envision, great, we've got the 2 bins, but now you have, I'm still doing a plastic bag for it. So if you would just comment on our relationship with the pro and how we can possibly influence it. On the same breath, if Councillor Mason was here, or some of the Peninsula councillors, they're going to say, wait a minute, you're now suggesting 2 bins and possibly a 3rd bin, and you look at some places in downtown Halifax and downtown Dartmouth, spacing is an issue, though I support the whole concept because efficiency of the bins and all that, but it is an issue. How do we address that, whether it stays at 2 bins or goes to 3 bins? Could you also speak to the experience was before my time in council when we introduced the green bin program? And, I remember as a resident that happening. How did that work financially? Was there not that the actual upfront investment was tied to people's tax bill or and it was a separate line? If you could refresh me of that. I'm remembering some of that in the back of my head. I just don't remember how that worked. And I do have an ask today, and maybe when this goes to regional council, could you speak and elaborate about the 300 kgs per capita by 2030, what that really means, what we're talking about there? I'm not sure if that's crystal clear for everybody. So if you could do that today, and then when it goes to regional council, maybe elaborate a little bit more on that in your slide presentation for regional council. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for the questions. So starting off with, potential blue cart and the pros. Yeah, I think when we start commercial discussions in the fall is a good time to bring this up in terms of, it's not really clear how they plan on collecting. I would suspect that in the short term, they're going to opt for the status quo as they transition and get up to speed. But I know in the long run, there likely will be a transition there. So I think we can certainly take that opportunity come the fall to get more clarity on that.
And just on that, Andrew, if I may sort of interrupt, but I think it's really important, and that makes sense. Let's make sure we flag really crystal clear communication as this rolls out. So if this rolls out and we're not clear on what's happening, that we are looking at that, I think it's really important that we communicate with our residents that we are looking at other things possibly and how that works. Right? Yeah.
Certainly, take your point there on that. In terms of space in the urban core around cart-based collection, and I would add in the housing accelerator, with more dense living. And so certainly it's a concern we have as well too. And so as part of this implementation plan, we want to collaborate with planning and development to further look at this and work this out, right? To make sure that there is space, or how many bins do you provide for a 4-unit building, a 3-unit building, like that sort of thing. So that's very much on our radar to further review. I think the green bins, I was in high school when it was rolled out, but my understanding that it was initially proposed a fee on a tax bill, but I believe that was rescinded and ultimately the municipality paid for it. I'm going to look at Shannon. She's going to nod her head, and Councillor Hansby may remember. Okay, yeah, okay. And it's a really good point. We haven't proposed that type of system here. We've proposed that, we'd pay for it, right? Yeah. Lastly, on the 300 kilograms, great question there. So we're currently at 383 kilograms per capita. So if the waste is generated in HRM, no matter where it is landfilled, that is attributable to us. I think the national average is probably like 700 kilograms per capita. Nova Scotia is at 417. We landfilled less here in Canada with the exception for PEI. So that's what that metric means. But that being said, we want to get down to 300. So for us, that's about a 30%, I think it's a 27% improvement, right? And what that means is we do a better job, we keep more material out of landfill, but also we mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. And that's something that can't be lost here, is the more that we landfill, the more methane we produce, more emissions. So the more that we can keep out of landfill, not only is it saving valuable landfill airspace, it's also mitigating greenhouse gases.
And that's a really good news story that we should celebrate. And I've said this many, many times, that we don't do a good job as a municipality telling our good news stories, and there's lots to be told. And that's one. And even though we are 388 now, that's not an easy task to get to 300. And how do we do that? And so I think it's really important that we share that, we celebrate that, but it'd be interesting to understand and making sure council understands what's the strategy to get us to all the things we've talked about today as part of it, but to get to 300. And other municipalities, to come from 417 as a province, that's going to be a big task for some of our municipalities, a huge task, more so than ours. But it's challenging. So communication on this, so let's celebrate. Thank you for that, Andrew. Councillor Cuttle, you have your floor now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, you asked many of my questions. One was about the urban core and the implementation. And in the diagram you used from Edmonton, it had all three out at the same time, but we would most likely not have that. You have three at once. You wouldn't need the whole 3 meters. But we have somebody else now taking over the blue bag. I'm just wondering, how is that going to, I'm assuming that will be coordinated through us, how that pickup happens, or, you know, they won't be on their own schedule. Like, I'm just wondering from a customer service perspective, how that will be facilitated. Just, you know, in the solid waste, when you were giving the averages around the country, did you say it was 700 for nationally? And is that just residential, or is that residential mixed with ICI? Right, so we're separating, our good news story is that we're separating out our ICI from our residential, and we're just landfilling residential. So that number of, correct me if I'm wrong, of 388 is just our resident, or is that everything? That's everything. Okay, that is amazing, that is impressive, and a good news story that, that we should be talking about. So, yeah, I guess it's just about the coordination. And the other piece was about, you know, back to the extended producer piece. Again, the communication out to the public on that is going to be really important. I think it feels like this elusive thing that's been talked about for several years now, and people don't really understand how it's going to affect them from a service perspective, or what they might need to do differently as a result of this. And so I don't know if you can just talk a little bit about what that will be like once it's implemented.
Yeah, thank you for the questions and the great questions and comments there. I would say across the province, we're all a little bit anxious on terms of like how we're going to facilitate the implementation of EPR. And so potentially we could be the collector, educator, customer service rep on behalf of producers as part of the new recycling program, in which case it likely would have a bit of a seamless feel for residents. So that will depend a little bit on commercial negotiations in the fall on the program. Ultimately, across Canada, and having reviewed what's gone on in other jurisdictions, even in jurisdictions where the producers are collecting through their own resources, not utilizing municipal programs, the coordination is there. Like, they want to coordinate, they want the same waste collection. They still leverage to some extent education, customer service, because ultimately at the end of the day, the public will look to us. Is a bit of a reality there. So that is coordination of services will be really important. Again, it could be us, and therefore it might be a little more seamless to our residents. And I think in terms of communication, it's going to be a new program. There's going to be a mix of collection curbside as well as depot collection for a number of new items that currently are not recyclable. So we don't know exactly what the plan is yet from producers. So it will be a change. And there'll be a lot of changes to our app, our education material, the waste sorting guide. So we're going to definitely put together a communication strategy around that that will be comprehensive, so we make sure that we're able to communicate effectively with the public.
Okay, that's great. I look forward to seeing all of that. And I just want to note about the $14 million for the black carts. You know, it's not us who's paying it. At the end of the day, it is the taxpayer, whether it comes in the general rate or it comes as a line item on their tax bill. So it is a big sticker price, and, you know, I look forward to some more discussion about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Stoddard.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Andrew, I just want to say to you and your team, you work very hard, and it's very impressive, the work and the numbers that you come up with, so thank you for that. I always get frustrated when I see fast food restaurants and they only have 2 openings in their garbage can. One is for recyclables, cans and bottles, and one is for garbage. Do we send information or education to fast food restaurants? I won't name any, but. And the other question I have is, we should have a place on the website that says, "Did you know?" And it should be all good things. You know, I mean, I don't know how feasible that is, but it just seems, particularly with landfill, we always hear about the bad news, you know, there's an odor, there's this, there's that. But I don't know how feasible that is, but that might be part of the education piece. Anyway, thank you, Andrew.
Through the chair to the council, yeah, thank you for the questions and comments. I do think we can certainly have opportunities to do a better job in promoting our successes. So I think that's a really good comment about did you know. So our bylaw S600 requires source separations at all IC&I locations, including fast food restaurants. And yes, we do visit, we do check in, we do provide education, and we also do provide enforcement. Okay. So if you see some, you can always call it in or email it to us, and we'll follow up.
Okay, great. Good to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no other questions on the floor, if we have someone call for the question? Question's been called for. All in favor of the motion on the floor, signify by saying aye. Anybody opposed? That motion is carried. Andrew and team, once again, outstanding. Can you just stick around for a second, Andrew? Thank you, everybody. Very quickly, next is motions. There are none. There's nothing in camera. There's no added items. No notice of motions. The date of the next meeting is August the 1st, 2024, if needed. And if someone could move an adjournment. So moved by the Deputy Mayor. Thank you, everyone. Truly appreciate it. To staff and everybody. Madam Clerk, you're awesome as always. Thank you. And everyone have a great day.